So today I'm going to be doing the shock absorbers on this R56 2007 non-S model Mini Cooper. Seals are completely gone in this shock absorber. I've already done the other side, but I just wanted to record this side because it's exactly the same on the other side. You just got to think about this pad wear sensor here, whereas on the other side you don't. So it made sense to record this side. Got all my tools out ready. Basically what I'm going to do first is there's three 13mm nuts on top of here. All I'm going to do is slacken those a few turns and then I'll go down to the bottom. Anyway, so like I say, 13mm, just pull this seal up a little bit, go to get on this back one a bit better. Just something else that will help you out when it comes to put this back together. Remember where this dowel goes, because there's two holes here. Ours goes in the one nearest the front, so just got to remember that. I'll take it down to the bottom now. So once you've done that, the next step is we need to get this brake line out of the bracket here, and there's a ABS sensor wire and the pad wear sensor wire. I'm just going to take that out of the bleed nipple cap, give it a bit more slack, and then there's another grommet that pushes into a bracket there. I'll show you taking off in a second. And there's another one just back here. Probably not necessary to take this off, but it'll give it a bit more slack to play with. I'll just set the camera so I can do that. So what I'm going to do to get this brake line out easier, because if you put it on too hard it could cause damage, I'm just going to spray the grommet with some WD-40. That will run down in there. And ideally it should just pull out quite easy, like that. Then I'm going to do the same with this ABS wire here. Should just pull out fairly easy now, like that. And then there's this back one here, which ain't that tight, it goes into plastic. Like that. Now that's all out of the way, we can move on to the next part. So basically once you've done that, the next stage is we need to undo this nut on the drop link. The centre takes so this centre piece here takes a 5mm Allen key, and then this nut is a 16mm, and you're going to counter hold with the 5mm Allen key and unscrew this nut, otherwise this whole shaft will just spin. Before you go doing anything with this, get a pick a bit like this or something similar, pick all the crap out of here, otherwise your Allen key ain't going to seat properly and it will round. And then spray a big load of WD-40 or equivalent on there, all the way around it. And then just sort of flush all the crap out of it if you can. I've already done that though. If you're reusing it, you've got to really be a bit careful with it. And essentially, what is got the 16. Got to find a good way to put this on. Essentially like that, and then your own key go in the middle, just like that. I'm not going to record taking this off, but you get the idea. Be awkward with the camera in the way, so I'll see you afterwards. Alright, I've got the drop link off now. I can show you way better how it goes. So 16 on the nut, 5 Allen key through there. You counter hold this clockwise, this turns anti-clockwise, and that stops this from spinning. Once you get out a certain amount of the way, there are actually flats at the top here, but I didn't use those. Yeah, so just have that out of the way. So I'd show you whilst it was off a bit better. So that's out of the way now. So now there's an 18mm nut here, and the head of the actual bolt is an 18 as well. It's behind here. You're going to counter hold the bolt with an 18, and you're going to try and spin the nut off. Always try and take the nut off from the bolt and not the bolt from the nut. It'll come off a lot easier that way. Once again, it will help you a lot, especially if it's an old thing like this. Clean the threads with your wire brush, get a pick in there, get your wire brush in there, whatever you need to do. Good amount of WD or something like that. And the same on the bolt head, this end as well. And yeah, I'll set the camera up and down now. So I've got my 18mm spinner on the back. It's counter hold, 18mm. Should come off now. Looks like it's going to need the breaker bar on that. Okay, take 2 of the breaker bar. There we go. Really awkward with the camera in the way. I should be able to spin it off now. There we go. Now the bolt don't want to turn. What I'm going to do, wind this on flush here with a hammer. Just like that. Have to get a better angle on that. turn with the breaker, but the other end. That's loosened up a little bit now. So it might hit through now. Yep, that's begun to move now. Turn that back off. Try my best to punch this out now. If I can get the right angle. I might have to sorry about cutting you off. I persevered a little bit of this. I actually spun it on the head of the bolt end and a load of rust came out, so should be able to get this out now. Pop goes the weasel. You can see it was all rust jacketed around there. Clean it up with a wire brush afterwards when it goes back on. So now this is the part where you've got to be a little bit careful, because you need to hit down on this knuckle here to separate this. I would highly recommend you spray some kind of spray in there, and that will make it come down a bit easier. But just watch your brake line, your ABS, your pad wear sensor line, all that sort of thing. I'm going to hold this out of the way and do it off camera, and I'll get back to you afterwards. Okay, so 30 gallons of WD-40 and 10 smash knuckles later, it is out. Once it's out, you're going to just hold it here, and you're going to undo these the rest of the way, and that will just pull down, and then you can take it out, and we'll get the spring compressor and deal with all that. Okay, I completely forgot to record the most important part of this whole thing, but I'll explain it as best as I can. So, first issue I ran into is this spring compressor is too big for this particular shock and everything. I've had to sit it in there like that, because if I put it on here and on here, it just doesn't compress it enough. But do that at your own risk if you run into that same issue. I got the job done, but not ideal really. Basically, when you take it apart, pry this cap off, and it'll be a 21mm socket to get this nut off. If you want to counter hold it, it's a 5mm Allen key in the centre there. And then you have one of these pass-through sockets. One second. And it's just another case of counter holding the centre whilst you undo the nut. This new one is actually an 18mm. But basically, once you get that off, once this is all compressed down enough, and you get this nut off, you take this off, lay it down, and then there'll be a washer under there that has a bit that sticks up, that faces up towards the underneath of the shock top. Then there'll be a flat washer, and then there'll be this actual metal piece here and this rubber here, and you can see that's the stop for where the spring actually goes. There'll be a bump stop which looks like this. It's a bit old and tatty, but this flat side goes up towards the top, and there'll be a boot which I haven't put on there properly yet, but that goes on there as well. And then essentially, once it's all back together, which is a reverse of the removal, this nut is a 64 newton meters. So yeah, again, pass through socket on there, 5mm key in there, and you torque it. If you run into an issue or you do not have sockets like this, what you can do, it's not really the proper way to do it, but what you can do, kids running past, anyway, so you pull down the bump stop and you can put grips, if that focuses, you can put mole grips right up in here, because it's not going to go past the bump stop, so it's not going to matter if it's a bit damaged. But if you can, try and do it the proper way. Make sure that it's all seated properly in this rubber down here, which I had to transfer off the old one. It only goes on one way, so you can't really get that wrong. But make sure it's right up against the stop at the bottom first, and then worry about getting it right up against the stop at the top afterwards. Yeah, like I said, it's not really ideal having it the way I've got it, but just be mindful of that. Putting it back together is the reverse of the removal, but I'll tell you all the torque specs and everything like that. Right, so like I say, here's just a reverse of removal. In first, get these on just a few threads, finger tight, to hold it in place. Once you've got it lined up in the knuckle, jack the knuckle up, get your pinch bolt in there, that's 100 newton meters. Then your drop link, that is 65 newton meters. And then your top nuts are 34 newton meters. What I did do on this pinch bolt here, just to make it easier in the future, is I wire brushed it and I put a load of grease around the shank of it, and then when it was in and torqued, I put some on the head of the bolt and all the exposed threads and everything like that. Did it with the drop link as well. Make sure you get all your routing correct on your cables and everything like that. After that, it's just a test drive really. Thanks for watching.